Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today we're going to be having our final review of Dance and Laugh Amongst the Rotten by Carach Angren. And Carach Angren, they like to make concept albums. All their albums so far have been, based off stories, and this one, we believe, also has a story. It's just not as straightforward, I'd say, as the other ones.
It's a little weird.
This one, we could tell that there was some stuff going on, but some of the songs don't add up. Some of them
out of place.
It's a little bit hard to tell, but the general rundown is that there's a black box with a bunch of souls inside it. And there is a girl who summons a ghost named Charlie with a Ouija board, and Charlie gets her to, take the box, open it, all the souls get out, and Charlie ends up possessing this girl. And we found that some songs like Blood Queen and In de Naam van de Duivel didn't really exactly fit with that theme. There's no mention of the box or Charlie or the Ouija board or the girl, none of that within either of those songs.
Out of place.
So we were debating, what do they mean, and
how do they connect it to the story?
We, came to the conclusion that perhaps these songs are based off more spirits that are within that box.
Yeah, that's the only thing we can really think.
Yes, it's like there's nothing. So
Blood Queen, even Charles Francis Cogan, which we'll talk more about in a minute, and In de Naam van de Duivel, they're three songs that just don't fit the rest of the story. There's no mention of Black Box, there's no mention of Ouija board, no mention of Charlie, unless Charlie is Charles Francis Cogan, which we've been debating about that all week. We're not sure if it's the same guy or if they're supposed to be different characters. He seems to think more like it's probably the same character.
Yeah, I feel that, it's way too much of a coincidence that they're, one of them is Charles, the other one is Charlie. Like, why?
I see that.
Why not write one of them as a different name so they don't get confused to be the same person or not? It's,
The thing that confuses me about it, though, is that if it's the same person, then how come there's absolutely no mention of possession or Ouija boards or black boxes in the story, in the song of Charles Francis Cogan? Not to mention that it's actually a story based on true events. He's a real guy, and the song is basically about what happened to him. So there's just no connection there lyrically. There's no connection there lyrically at all. So for me, it just seems too much. They're too different to be the same guy.
I think perhaps, the song Charles Francis Coughlin is specifically a backstory to the spirit of Charlie that are the same person, but we just have the backstory and, his namesake song there.
Could be, yeah.
But that, it's still really up for debate.
Yeah.
There's nothing, really for sure about it. This was kind of, this was tricky to really put together, but that,
But other than the name, there's nothing else that really connects it to Charlie at all. But then you take a song like we mentioned, Blood Queen. There's nothing in Blood Queen that connects it to the rest of the story at all. So all we can do is assume that the Blood Queen, she dies or gets possessed by some ghost in the mirror.
Yeah.
Something there is connected to the black box. Because the black box, from what we gather, is full of souls. It's full of evil, entities. And we think that that's one of them.
Yeah, Song for the Dead's also another one that really stuck out as this really doesn't have much to do with the rest of the story.
It's hard to make sense of Song for the Dead because at first when I listened to it, I thought it was again about the black box. I was like, okay, this makes sense.
The song for everyone, all the
souls
in the box.
But if you listen to the lyrics or if you read the lyrics, you'll see that this person, male or female, I don't know who the kind of protagonist of the song is, but they're dealing with physical bodies. They're not dealing with souls or spirits because they talk about touching the eyeballs and scalping their hair off their heads and wearing it. So, the album title actually comes from that song. I Dance and Laugh Amongst the Rotten is one of the lines in that song. So it makes you think maybe they're in a graveyard, which
Perhaps.
Again, if you think about it.
I mean, in the music video for Charles Francis Coughlin, it kind of sums up the entirety of the story. You have the box, you have the girl opening the box, you have the graveyard there.
Yeah, she's in the graveyard. She's not dancing around.
She's not, but so it's also curious, who is the protagonist in Song for the Dead? Is it the girl or is it someone completely different? Is it Charlie?
It could be Charlie.
Could be Charlie or Charles, if they are even the same person.
So hard to tell.
It's really tough.
This was a tough one to put together, guys.
This was hard, but I mean, that's another great thing about this album is that it's making us work just to learn what it's about.
And it's fun to try to solve mysteries like this because they didn't just slap this together. They put thought into this. And I've seen interviews with Sarah Gore before where he specifically says, we don't just write songs and say, okay, this is done. We write songs and we put effort and thought and everything goes into them. It takes them months and months and months to write songs. These things are connected. I'm telling you right now, they're connected somehow. Whether or not we are connecting them properly or not, that remains to be seen. But they're connected somehow.
So it's good to know that there is an answer. So trying to find it is the hard part. But story aside, what did you think of the music in the album?
The music on this album is pretty damn phenomenal, I gotta say. It's just, there's so much happening, okay? With the orchestra stuff and the music, the vocals are amazing. There's, Sarah Gore is such a great singer. I mean, he's got such a cool range. Just the emotion in his voice. Something that I've always loved. It's one of the things that I love the most about this band. But the thing that I love the most about this album, and even other Carach Angren albums really, is the balance between orchestra and, I guess regular instruments or whatever, right? Because you take a band like Dimmu Borgir, for example, they throw the orchestra in your face. It's like blaring in your face. They kind of overdo it a little bit obnoxious. Still sounds good. Love Dimmu Borgir, but Carach Angren does it in a way where it just blends so good.
Yeah, they put it together with the instruments a lot. With Dimmu Borgir, they'll have entirely, orchestral tracks like that are part of the album or all that kind of stuff. Carach Angren does have an orchestral version of Charles Francis Coughlan, but that's a bonus track.
Yeah.
Like that's just,
and it is good, so check it out.
It is good. Yes. But so it's really great that they have such a good blend between those sources there.
But aside from the orchestral stuff, I mean, just the metal itself. The guitar riffs are badass, heavy as hell. The drums are wicked. There's fast stuff. There's cool patterns. There's the blast beats. The piano in this album is so beautiful throughout the songs. And it's all these things that are like subtle too, right? Like,
yeah.
I've listened to this album tons already. Okay, I've listened to it all week, and even up until today, I was noticing new things in each song that I hadn't heard before, because there's so much crammed into each song, but it doesn't feel crammed. It's very well placed. It's just such a well put together album.
Yeah, that gives you a lot of playback incentive there to be like, wow, I didn't even notice that. Like, that's one thing I find that's great about using sound effects in music and having such dense music is that it gets the listener to keep coming back and they keep discovering more and more about it, and they hear the music differently with each listen.
Was there any song that stood out to you specifically for reasons like that?
It's kind of hard because there were some songs that had like subtle things that really stood out hard. I felt like the piano in, I think, in De Naam van de Duivel, it was really kind of minimalistic in the way, that he was placing the notes, but the way that you heard them really put a lot of emotion into it. And it was such a small moment with such a big effect.
It's those subtle things.
And then you also hear the piano in Pitch Black Box completely different at probably the lowest end of the piano, octave-wise.
And there's some nice little fancy keyboard stuff for piano stuff in that song as well, which I really, really liked. And it's another one of those things, like if you're not paying attention to it, you'll miss it. But if you hear it a few times and once you catch it, you'll go, wow, I never heard that before. You might even want to rewind it, listen again, because it's just one of those things. It just gets you.
Another thing that was really cool that stood out in the possession process was the female vocals that happened in the background.
Yeah.
And it almost gave
it's
like
creepy.
The kind of vibe of a theremin.
Yeah.
Just like it, really kind of like you really catch it every time you listen to it, and it stands out. So there's a lot of songs on this album that are like that. I found this album was incredible. I loved listening to it. All the songs were unique. All the songs did their jobs great. Mm-hmm. Some songs perhaps may have slowed down like the pace.
That's okay.
In the middle of Blood Queen, there was a little slow part, but you know what? That grew on me over time.
Sometimes you gotta change the pace a little bit.
Definitely. Song for the Dead, I found, was a fantastic transitional song from the first half of the album into the second half.
Yep.
It did its job perfect. I feel, this album is fantastic. Great music all around. This album is awesome. So what would you rate this album?
I mean, we just basically praised this album left, right, and center. I would go as far as saying that this is a masterpiece. It falls right in line with the rest of Carach Angren's work. These guys don't put out bad albums. They don't put out bad music. They take a lot of care, and they put their heart and souls into their work. And I have nothing but the utmost respect for that. So this is going to be the first time I give my toe tag to an album on this channel. This album gets my toe tag.
All right. Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. I think this album's great. I think it's a must listen, especially for Carach Angren's discography.
Yeah.
So this album also gets my toe tag, meaning this is the very first album on our channel that gets two toe tags.
All right. So just so you guys know, we're going to be compiling a list in the description box below of all the albums that do get two toe tags on this channel. So far, it's only one.
So it's not a big list.
We're a pretty
so
new
far,
channel. We're a pretty new channel, so we got room to grow. We got room to expand this list.
But our very first album
First
with
one.
two toe tags.
So do not sleep on this, guys.
Definitely not.
you know
Not
what?
this album, not this band.
Yeah, even if you're not a fan of this type of, orchestral, symphonic, black metal, or anything even remotely close to this genre, if this is something you normally would shy away from, give it a chance.
Definitely.
Give it a chance. Because
will.
I've heard people say that they're not a fan of that style, but they listen to Carach Angren, they listen to this album, they listen to a song like Charlie, and they go, wow. Or Charles Francis Coughlin, and they're like, holy crap, this is awesome.
The presentation of this band is just really great for pulling people in,
Yeah.
visually, musically, stylistically, everything's there to have someone just go like, oh shit,
Yeah.
like, whoa,
Give it a
these
chance.
guys real
Give
shit.
it a chance.
So, with that, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, comment, favorite, subscribe for more.
For more.
With that, I'm TV Fish,
I'm Vile Self.
and we will see you guys later.